What's up, guys? Welcome to my channel. My name is Margaret Corleone Blues, and it's the day after Halloween, and I'm a little late on a Halloween video, but whatever. Today, I'm going to be telling you 10 of my favorite movies to get in the mood for Halloween and spooky season and fall and all that good stuff. Go watch them if you haven't. This isn't my top 10 favorite horror movies. That would be a completely different list. These are just my favorite movies that I like watching around Halloween time to get me in the spirit. So let's go. 10 is from 1984. It's the movie Chud, starring Daniel Stern and John Hurt. Sorry. So Home Alone alumni starring in this movie, so you already know it's gonna be good. This is a sci-fi horror movie. Chud stands for cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, and it's about these cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers and in New York City, and they start to make their way to the surface and they terrorize New York. And it is a really fun, spooky sci-fi horror movie, and I don't want to give too much away because there are some plot twists here and there, but it's really fun. If you're a fan of Stranger Things, which I probably should have put on this list, oh my gosh, I forgot Stranger Things. If you're a fan of Stranger Things, I definitely recommend watching this movie. You can definitely tell that they took a lot of inspiration from this movie, from some of the plot twists that I will not be spoiling in this video, and then also just the music and just the whole vibe. And in Stranger Things season 1, the very first episode, there's a scientist that goes into the underground, and his name is Shepard. The Daniel Stern's character in this movie is named AJ Shepard, and that character was actually named after him, which is pretty cool. And then number 9 is gonna have to go to the original Wicker Man from 1973, starring Edward Woodward and Christopher Lee. This movie's so creepy. Of course, there was the remake with Nick Cage, and I think this movie was sadly overshadowed by that movie because it's pretty much a meme at this point. Not the bees. Don't let that hinder you from watching this movie. It is fantastic. Christopher Lee as a cult leader. You just want for the cult because it's Christopher Lee. The ending sequence of, like, if you've seen the movie, the whole celebration of the sacrifice and the chop scene is truly one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen. I just love the atmosphere of this movie, and the acting performances are fantastic, and I definitely recommend checking it out. It is so good. And yeah, don't listen to the Nicolas Cage, not the Beast version. Number 7 is The Omen from 1976, starring Gregory Peck. I watched this movie when I was maybe 13 or something, and it really freaked me the hell out, and it's one of my very favorite horror movies. I think one thing that's really cool about this movie is that the villain is like a little child, like a little toddler, but then it's just the psychological horror of what's going around and the things he's causing. I mean, it's all for you, Damien. It's all for you, Damien. You know, great movie. I love the whole sequence, the photographer, and how his pictures will predict the deaths of the characters. I just love that. And then, you know, the plot twist with the jackal, it just really gets into your head, and just seeing how everything, just the atmosphere that just being around Damien creates, it just really messes with your head, and it's so great. And I actually also don't mind the 2 sequels that were made, Damien Omen 2 and then Omen 3, The Final Conflict. The Final Conflict has Sam Neill as Damien as an adult, and he's fully embracing the Antichrist thing, and he's really great, and I think he makes the movie tolerable. I think they're a lot better than a lot of other horror sequels. Damien 2 is about him as a teenager and him finding out about being the Antichrist, and then, you know, coming to embrace that role at the end of the movie. And it's really cool. That one has a lot of my favorite deaths of the whole franchise. So I really like the 2 sequels too. Also a sketch on SNL in season 2 called, there's a lot of dust in my room, called The Ointment. And John Belushi played Damien. He had the 666 on his head, and Lorraine Newman was the creepy nanny, and Dan Aykroyd was the priest, and Buck Henry was the photographer, I think. I can't remember. It's been a little bit since I watched it, but I really like their take on it, called The Ointment. Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, this has Rick Moranis, John Candy, Jim Belushi, Steve Martin, Christopher Guest, Bill Murray, just so many of the great 70s, 80s comedy icons for one thing. It's directed by Frank Oz. Yoda. I know this is Grogu, but I don't have anything Yoda on my person at the moment. Sorry. The music in it is fantastic, and also putting Rick Moranis as a leading man was a very smart idea. He's just so lovable and adorable and precious. Another thing that I like about this movie is that as a former theater kid in like high school and college, I like that this movie does not feel like cinematic. It feels very theatrical. And I love that they use puppets. And Jim Henson's daughter was actually the puppeteer for this movie, which I think is freaking awesome. Number 6 is Rocky Horror Picture Show. This is a classic. What was in the water in 1975 to make so many good movies of that era? There was this, Jaws, Dog Day Afternoon, Cuckoo's Nest, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Just so many amazing movies from 1975 alone. And SNL premiered in 1975 too, which is pretty great. I think this movie is a really cool twist on the classic Frankenstein tale, which and also has a lot of homages and inspiration of like the old classic sci-fi, cheap sci-fi movies. And the music is so good too. I mean, Time Warp is amazing. Tim Curry, it's Tim Curry's world and we're just living in it. That man has more talent than most human beings combined. He should have been nominated for an Oscar about that. I'm also a big fan of Meatloaf, the singer, and the food's okay too, but I remember listening to Bat Out of Hell at a very, very young age, and that kind of influenced my taste in music. And I feel like Meatloaf is the singer that I listen to on a regular basis, that I was a fan of since I was a little kid. So I love his role in this movie. I love Eddie. He's super hot as Eddie. Not gonna lie. Hot Patootie is my favorite song in this movie. And he's my favorite part. But I just love all the little Frankenstein references. English major. Woo. So I love all those. I stayed up till like 3 a.m. one time writing a paper on Frankenstein. So I love the little homages to Frankenstein and just classic cinema. And I love the performance in this movie. It's just a classic. I mean, it's just fun, it's spooky, it's just fun, it's spooky, it's just really good. I don't know what else to say about it that hasn't been said. Number 5, I'm gonna throw you for a loop. This is not a movie, this is actually a mini series. This is from 2021. It's Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass. I watched this not too long after it came out and it just blew my mind in so many ways. It feels like classic horror. You can tell Mike Flanagan used a lot of inspiration from, I mean, Dracula, like the books. And then also there was a lot of Jaws references as a big Jaws fan, and it takes place on a little island. And this was just a really good classic telling of the vampire story. Spoilers. I also really like that they didn't market this as a vampire show. That was like a big plot twist, and I like the slow burn. You see like a horror thing coming out about a priest and you kind of automatically assume like possession or something demonic, but it was like vampires, that he's like thinks he thinks a vampire is an angel that's calling upon him to save humanity, which is kind of crazy. Hamish Linklater's performance in this is one of the best I've ever seen on TV. He is so electrifying as Father Paul. I'm like, I kind of get why he got people to join his Catholic vampire cult, because he is just really attractive and he's really magnetic, and I was so disappointed he didn't get nominated for an Emmy for this. I also like that this just wasn't about vampires. It had a lot about addiction and a lot about religion and a lot of commentary on both of those things that I think are really important. Number 4 is Don't Look Now, which stars Julie Christie and Donald Sutherland. I don't know why this movie isn't up there with all the other classic horror movies of the 70s. I feel like it's kind of glossed over, but this movie is so good. I don't really want to spoil too much about it, but it kind of has a lot of supernatural stuff, but also has some slasher elements. And there's like a really great plot twist at the end. This movie has Julie Christie and Donald Sutherland. I'm like, what more could you want? They're awesome. And it also takes place in Venice, so there's a lot of beautiful shots of Italy. This movie is just not appreciated enough. It has everything you'd want from a horror movie. Go check this out. It's from 1973. Don't Look Now. Go watch it. Leave this video and go watch it now. Number 3 is The Devil's Advocate. Anybody who knows me knows how much I love Mr. Al Pacino. He's right here. I'm like one of the biggest Al Pacino fans in the world. I've met him twice. I love him. So of course I'm gonna love a horror movie with him where he plays the devil. This movie is kind of cheesy. It's from like the late 90s, and Keanu Reeves kind of struggles back and forth with a southern accent, but who cares, because Al Pacino as the devil is amazing. I know a lot of people think he's over the top, but he's playing the devil. He's playing a lawyer devil. Like, of course a lawyer devil is going to be over the top. Like, I don't understand why he's being over the top and yelling. I mean, like, he's the devil, okay? I love his monologue at the end. I love the big reveal. Oh, so as a Law & Order SVU fan, there's a lot of cast members from that. which is pretty cool. And all the shots of New York, and just Al is just, he just owned this role. A fun fact about this, he actually was wearing a wig in the movie. He mentioned this on the Actors Studio when other horror icon Ellen Burstyn was interviewing him for the Actors Studio. I think that was maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember. I think it was like 4 years ago. But he said that he wore a wig in this movie because his dog had just died right before the movie started filming, and his hair started falling out because he was so depressed. Also, as obviously a enormous, huge, diehard, one of the most craziest Godfather fans in the entire world, a commentary about this movie that I've seen a lot, and I agree with it, is that Al Pacino as John Milton looks more like an older Michael Corleone than Al Pacino actually does in The Godfather 3. But I have my opinions on that about him being, that's another video for another day. So number 2, I have a guest to talk to you guys about this movie. He's a star of the movie. His name is Slimer. Oh yeah, this movie is Ghostbusters. If you haven't known, I love Ghostbusters so much. It's just a feel-good movie. It's funny. It's so funny. It has such spooky elements. It has such heart to it with the friendships of the Ghostbusters and then them coming together for the greater good, and just the really like classic literary elements about the apocalypse. I don't think that's brought up enough when talking about Ghostbusters, is that it just, the apocalypse elements, even though they're a little silly and fun, like the Stay Puft, it's still a very classic apocalyptic tale, which I think is just so freaking cool. Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd are absolute geniuses. They know how to tell funny stories, but stories that have heart and realness to them. And I think that's why Ghostbusters and so many other movies that those two made, whether it be Animal House or Blues Brothers, I know that, you know, they weren't co-collaborators on those two movies, but you know what I mean. They know how to combine humor, heart, and things that they're passionate about. You can feel Dan's true passion for the paranormal. It's not just making fun of paranormal stuff. This is something that Dan truly cares about. And that's why I think Harold Ramis and Dan, they're so beloved and Ghostbusters is still beloved. It's humor, it's heart, it's spooky, and it's just classic. It feels like classic literature in a way, in some elements almost. And I just think that's so freaking cool. And of course, John was supposed to be in it. Little Jake's gonna get jealous. Slimer, do you have anything to say? He doesn't have anything to say. But I have a question for the Ghostbusters fans. Are you the Keymaster? And finally, we are down to the number 1 spot. Probably my favorite horror movie besides Jaws. And Jaws is more of a summer movie, so that's why that didn't go on this list. I feel like I'm more in the mood to watch it over the summer and not for Halloween. But anyway, my number 1 pick is The Shining. I've been a big fan of this movie for several years. I remember watching it for the first time right before my family went on vacation. So like being in that hotel, everything reminded us of The Shining. So that was really cool. This movie is just so quotable. I feel like this is a movie that I could watch every day of my life and not get tired of. I know it by heart and it still creeps me the hell out. I love the music. Midnight, the Stars and You, It's All Forgotten Now, all that. It's just so eerie. I don't even know what to say about The Shining because it's just so good. It's just it's in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, without a doubt. I love The Shining. This is just one of my favorite movies ever. I didn't watch it last night. I watched Rocky Horror last night actually, but I usually watch this on Halloween. It's amazing. Jack Nicholson is great. Danny Lloyd is great. Shelley Duvall is great. Everyone in this movie is great. And I love the ghost party scenes. I kind of wanted to go to a ghost party, and then the scene with the dog is creepy as hell, and then the lady in the bathtub is creepy as hell. I mean, I know this movie word for word, heard every scene by heart, but I still can't get enough of the spooks in this movie. It's just amazing, and I love it so much. So that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what your favorite movies to watch for spooky season is. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments what you were for Halloween. If you dressed up, I was Jake Blues, of course. I think I need to find something else to be next year. Or probably not. I kind of want to be Quint from Jaws because I love him. He's like the coolest. And then I could just walk around being like the head, the tail, the whole damn thing. I don't know. That wasn't a very good Quinn impression. I didn't really try though. But anyway, I'll perfect it by next Halloween if I'm Quinn. I promise. Okay, anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you like this video. Let me know what your favorite Halloween spooky movies to watch around this time are. I also forgot The Nightmare Before Christmas. Oh my god. I'm an idiot. Anyway, have a great day. And of course, little Jake and I say bye.